For over 3 decades and over 1,500 broadcasts, the Emmy Award-winning program Firing Line, hosted by William F. Buckley Jr., was broadcast into millions of American homes every week on public television. Beloved, controversial, hugely influential, and conceived as a simple exchange of opinions, Buckley described Firing Line as the only program on the air that gives to presidents and poets a full hour in which to disclose themselves.
The topic tonight is the hippies, an understanding of whom we must, I guess, acquire or die painfully. Professor Milton Friedman is considered by some people the leading economist in the entire world. That in itself is eye-catching, though, come to think of it, somebody has to be the leading economist in the entire world.
I think most of the poor people are perfectly responsible, respectable people who, given half a chance, don't want to be on welfare any more than you or I want to be.
See, you're a wise man, and you make a man think.
I often think when you're going for consensus, so often it means that those who believe, as I believe, tend to give in to the left wing, and you steadily move further and further left.
Balancing the budget is a little bit like protecting your virtue. You just have to learn to say no.
The Democratic politicians, the so-called liberal politicians, have been more exciting and more interesting. Now, part of the reason for that is that they can be less responsible. Because whenever they have a problem, they say, well, the government will do something.
I think that many more people are convinced, not by actions of power, but by the precepts of people they listen to, and by some sort of an internal search to do the right thing.
Let's talk about it for a moment. Ever since the Civil War, and before that, I'm not even going to take the period of slavery in, this is a Christian, Western civilized nation. They've constantly been talking about the fact that the mystical body of Christ knows no color line. They go to church and they hear all this in nice segregated churches. And on a rational basis, all the anthropologists have come up with their various findings, cutting across through this color barrier, etc. Do you think that there would have been any change as far as civil rights legislation, as far as many of the breakthroughs that have occurred?
Of course.
Oh, well, come on. I don't know what fairyland you're living in. If you call me
America, that's my fairyland, the country you don't know. Senator Goldwater is both a Republican and a conservative, terms which he has not found, or at least not yet found, to be mutually exclusive.
And I might say, Bill, this is my chief worry as a conservative, that we have put so much power in the office of the presidency that someday the wrong man could come along. And I wouldn't be so concerned about whether he could use these powers to perpetuate himself in office, but how he would use these powers to destroy people that disagreed with him, to pile up voters where voters don't usually pile up. I think Johnson is fully aware of the powers that he has, and he certainly has used them and will use them.
Adam, in the most ungallant fashion, tries to blame the whole thing on Eve. The woman tempted me. He streaks for the bushes, gets himself in the bushes, hides from God, and then when God hauls him forth, blames it on the woman. Now there's your typical male chauvinist right from the beginning.
I understand the Christian tradition to be one that says merely because you have an appetite is not an excuse for giving in to it. And I understand the Playboy philosophy to be saying it is to lead to a kind of a neurotic repression to ask somebody to give it. Incidentally,
Freud said that.
Yeah.
Freud said that.
Well, no, he didn't say quite exactly that.
Well, see, one of the things I think that's very important.
In the first place, he was a very orthodox monogamist.
All right, I think that we're more apt to get.
What Freud said was understand what it is that you're doing to yourself.
We are more apt to
get. He was not a latitudinarian as regards personal behavior.
We are more apt to get true monogamy, happy monogamy, something other than the sequential polygamy that we really have in society today. I think if we take a more realistic...
If I may say so, how in the hell do you know? How do you know?
But since the Second World War, we became the world's major imperialist power. And Vietnam is simply one piece of an attempt to construct a very large integrated world system, of which Greece was another piece.
Yeah, we became an imperial power, Mr. Chomsky, in this sense, in the sense that we inherited primary responsibility for any chain of action that might involve us in a Third World War,
I don't believe that's what
and something that might involve the entire world in Holocaust. And
No,
under
I
the
don't believe that's what
circumstances, well, I know you don't believe it, but
in fact, I think that
it might be refreshing to listen to this point of view, which is that there are people who do believe that America, unhappily and certainly not desiring it, inherited the responsibility for trying to abort international Holocaust. And has from time to time done so by such ventures as the Truman Doctrine, Marshall Aid, and things like that.
I think that people under the age of 30 come from a entirely different way of life. I think that they're mutants.
Well, they're younger, yeah.
No, they've been brought up in a world, Bill, which is entirely different from the one that you and I knew. It's already gone beyond my comprehension. The kids today are into electronics. They're into experiments in consciousness. They're into a level of awareness which I can dimly grasp, but can only, as it passes me by, take off my hat and say, Godspeed to.
Yeah, well, I say Godspeed to them too, without necessarily handing them pot in the same gesture.
If we could just adopt a little convention to recognize that ground wars by now and air wars, which are short of nuclear wars, are fought for image, we could buy a tract of land in the Amazon.
Why do you call it image? For instance, when Israel tries to rebuff the Arabs, do you call it image that
was
they
a different war. That was an altogether different war. Are we going to talk about all wars being the same?
All wars are different except those that you say are the same.
No, I don't. Well, I'm perfectly...
First place, you start out by saying all wars nowadays are fought for image except nuclear wars. So I brought up the Israeli war. Now you say except it. Are you going to wrench everything as inapplicable to your generality?
I said all our wars. All right, I was imprecise. I'll give you that.
If Lloyd's of London had been asked to give odds that I would be disagreeing with Ronald Reagan on a matter of public policy, I doubt they could have flogged a quotation out of their swingingest betting man. Because judging from Governor Reagan's impeccable record, the statisticians would have reasoned that it was inconceivable that he should make a mistake. But of course it happens to everyone. I fully expect that someday I'll be wrong about something.
Well, Bill, my first question is, why haven't you already rushed across the room here to tell me that you've seen the light?
Are you saying the communists invented patriotism in Panama?
No.
Yes, well, you really tried to say that.
No. No, Bill, I really didn't.
Would you yourself consider what you had previously attributed to the market, and which I now attribute to legislation, and your handling of that, an especially talented evasion?
No, but I would classify your defenselessness as obvious.